Every hero begins with a spark, sometimes faint, sometimes blazing, but always powerful enough to ignite a journey that will test the very limits of human endurance. Arnold Schwarzenegger's spark was not handed to him. It was carved out of hardship, doubt, and relentless hunger. He was an outsider, a boy from a small Austrian town who looked across oceans and dared to dream bigger than his surroundings could contain. He faced mockery for his accent, ridicule for his ambitions, and doubt for his towering goals. Yet behind every jeer, every rejection, and every weight he lifted in solitude, something extraordinary was forming, an unstoppable fire. But raw ambition alone is never enough. Many dream, few endure, and even fewer rise to greatness. What separated Arnold was not only his sheer willpower but the wisdom he sought and embraced. His journey was more than muscle and sweat. It was about guidance, revelation, and transformation. He learned that mentors can save you years of wandering in the dark, that discipline can turn chaos into clarity, and that vision can turn effort into destiny. This is the story of how mentorship and revelation became the hidden engines behind Arnold's rise. A tale of friendships that tested him, mentors that sharpened him, and insights that would take him from immigrant outsider to global icon. It is not just about bodybuilding or fame, it is about the eternal truth that guidance, when fused with determination, creates legends. Arnold's first true mentor wasn't a famous figure, nor a seasoned coach with accolades to his name. It was someone far closer, someone who walked beside him through sweat, hunger, and relentless repetition, Franco Columbu. To the world, Franco was small compared to Arnold, a compact powerhouse with a frame that didn't immediately command the same awe. But in truth, Franco was unbreakable, a man whose grit and fire made him a mirror, and sometimes a shadow, of Arnold's own drive. Their bond was forged in the gyms of Venice Beach, where steel clashed, chalk dust lingered in the air, and the smell of iron and effort defined every morning. At 6 a.m., when most of the city still slept, the two of them would already be grinding, bar after bar, set after set. Franco wasn't just beside Arnold, he was inside his rhythm, counting every rep, spotting with hawk-like eyes, and sometimes barking words that cut sharper than any coach's lecture. Teasing when Arnold faltered, challenging when he slowed, warning when arrogance threatened discipline. Arnold once recalled, "Franco could see when I was about to quit before I knew it myself." That was his gift, not simply encouragement, but an intuition born of trust. In those dim gyms, Franco wasn't teaching technique alone. He was teaching endurance, accountability, and above all, honesty with oneself. Mentorship often comes disguised, and in Franco, Arnold didn't just find a friend. He found a brother in arms, a relentless reminder that greatness is never forged in solitude. If Franco Columbu was the brother who walked beside him, Joe Weider was the visionary who stood ahead of him, pointing to horizons Arnold had never imagined. Joe wasn't just another bodybuilding enthusiast, he was the architect of the sport's future, the man behind Muscle and Fitness and Mr. Olympia, a builder of both physiques and legends. And when Arnold arrived in America, raw, ambitious, and half-formed, Joe saw something few others dared to see, not just a bodybuilder, but a global icon in the making. Weider didn't limit his guidance to training advice. His mentorship was about shaping Arnold into more than an athlete. It was about strategy, brand, and legacy. He taught him that muscles alone wouldn't carry him to greatness. Presentation mattered. Story mattered. Vision mattered. In Arnold's own words, "You can be strong, but if nobody notices, it doesn't matter." Joe made sure people noticed. He drilled into Arnold the art of commanding presence, how to pose on stage so the crowd couldn't look away, how to answer interviewers with charm and wit, how to turn perceived weaknesses, like his accent, into distinguishing features. There were times when the lessons were blunt. Arnold remembered a moment when Joe told him, "Your body is impressive, But your mind must become sharper. Think like a champion before you step on stage. Under Joe's mentorship, Arnold's training transformed from brute effort into calculated artistry. The iron became more than resistance, it became metaphor, teaching precision, discipline, and the mental mastery required for legend. For years, Arnold thought the secret to greatness was effort alone, lifting harder, training longer, eating more than anyone else. But through mentorship and trial, he discovered a deeper revelation. Discipline and focus weren't just tools for progress. They were weapons that separated champions from the forgotten. Every morning in Venice Beach began before the sun rose. While others slept, Arnold was already moving, already eating, already visualizing. The world saw only the trophies and the spotlight, but the true victory was won in those quiet hours when no one was watching. Each precise meal, each measured calorie, each carefully structured workout wasn't about restriction, it was about liberation. By controlling the small details, Arnold freed his mind to chase monumental goals. Visualization became a cornerstone of this new philosophy. Before every competition, Arnold closed his eyes and painted the outcome in vivid color: the stage lights, the roar of the crowd, the weight of the trophy in his hand. These weren't fantasies. They were rehearsals. By the time he stepped onto the stage, he had already lived that moment 1,000 times in his mind. And here lies the lesson: discipline doesn't shrink your world, it expands it. Focus doesn't cage ambition, it sharpens it into a blade that can cut through doubt, failure, and resistance. Arnold's revelation was simple but profound: muscles may win titles, but mindset wins legacies. The world often imagines Arnold and Franco only under the lights of the stage, flexing for judges and cameras. But their greatest lessons didn't come in front of an audience. They were forged in the quiet, grueling challenges that no one else saw. Franco Columbi wasn't content with the predictable routines of weightlifting alone. He believed real strength had to be tested in ways that broke the mold, ways that revealed what a man was made of. One morning, Franco handed Arnold a sandbag and pointed to the steep hills of Venice Beach. "Let's run," he said. Arnold laughed at first. This wasn't in any bodybuilding manual. But within minutes, his legs burned, his chest screamed, and every step felt impossible. Franco didn't slow down. He didn't allow excuses. He simply kept moving, daring Arnold to match him. Arnold stumbled, nearly collapsed. But Franco pushed, teased, and demanded. By the time Arnold reached the top, drenched in sweat and gasping for air, he had discovered something no weight room could teach: resilience beyond muscle. Franco's mentorship was never polished or easy. It was raw, brutal, and unrelenting. Yet, in that brutality lay the gift of revelation. Arnold realized that true mentors don't just refine your strengths, they drag your weaknesses into the open and force you to conquer them. And that was Franco's greatest lesson: growth doesn't live in comfort. It waits on the other side of pain, in the places where you want to quit but don't. For all his triumphs, Arnold's path was littered with failures. Failures sharp enough to cut, heavy enough to crush, and humiliating enough to make lesser men walk away. Yet it was in those moments that his destiny was shaped. As a young competitor, he entered bodybuilding contests in Europe and lost to men with more experience and better polish. The sting was brutal. For a boy who had built his identity around strength, being beaten felt like erasure. But instead of retreating, Arnold studied. He asked why they won. He analyzed their posing, their timing, their detail. Loss didn't end him. It taught him how to be smarter, not just stronger. Then came Hollywood. His first auditions were disasters. Casting directors smirked at his accent, dismissed his build as too cartoonish, and doubted anyone could take him seriously. For many, rejection like that would have been a coffin nail. For Arnold, it became a challenge. If they said his voice was strange, he would make it iconic. If they laughed at his size, he would turn it into a symbol of power. Critics sneered. Doors slammed. But each no became fuel, each failure a teacher. In Arnold's philosophy, defeat wasn't a verdict, it was feedback. And this was his revelation: the world doesn't reward the flawless. It rewards those who can rise from defeat sharper, hungrier, and more unbreakable than before. Failure didn't stop Arnold, it sculpted him. Arnold's most formidable tool was never a barbell or a dumbbell, it was his mind. While others measured progress in inches and pounds, Arnold measured it in clarity of vision and precision of thought. He understood that muscles could be trained, but the mind had to be sculpted, rehearsed, and sharpened. Before stepping on any stage or entering any audition room, Arnold closed his eyes and rehearsed the moment in vivid detail. He imagined the lights, the crowd, the roar, the subtle shifts of tension in the room. He pictured every pose, every line, every gesture, and felt it as if it were already happening. It wasn't fantasy, it was strategy. Every mental rehearsal was a blueprint, a map that his body would follow naturally when the time came. He visualized obstacles as clearly as victories, competitors who seemed unbeatable, critics who doubted him, auditions that could go wrong. But he didn't see failure, he saw solutions, rehearsed responses, and the inevitability of triumph. In this way, Arnold's mind became a laboratory for success, testing scenarios, sharpening focus, and reinforcing discipline before reality demanded it. This combination of visualization and mentorship transformed raw ambition into actionable clarity. Each thought, each rehearsal, each mental exercise strengthened his resolve, aligned his efforts, and forged momentum that no external challenge could stop. Arnold's mind became as finely tuned as his body, because he knew that true mastery begins in thought before it manifests in action. Arnold's journey was never meant to end with personal achievement alone. Mentorship had taught him a profound truth: knowledge, insight, and hard-earned wisdom only fulfilled their purpose when shared. Success isn't a solitary prize, it's a seed meant to grow and inspire others. And Arnold understood that building a legacy required more than trophies, muscles, or fame. It required multiplying the lessons he had absorbed and passing them on to those who were still climbing. In Venice Beach, he became a beacon for aspiring bodybuilders. Young athletes watched as he trained with relentless focus, and he didn't just demonstrate exercises, he explained principles, revealed mindset strategies, and instilled confidence in those who followed his footsteps. Arnold extended this guidance to Hollywood, offering advice to actors learning the craft and navigating an industry that could be unforgiving. He didn't hoard insight. He published articles, shared stories, and illuminated paths that might have remained dark to others. The revelation was profound. Mentorship doesn't just transform the mentee, it multiplies influence exponentially. The lessons Arnold learned from Franco, Joe Weider, and his own struggles became a ripple that spread far beyond his immediate circle. By guiding others, he created a network of ambition, discipline, and resilience that outlasted his personal victories. Arnold's legacy demonstrates that greatness is amplified when it becomes a shared journey. The guidance he received evolved into a living testament. The right mentorship, internalized and extended, doesn't just create champions, it creates legends who leave an enduring mark on the world. Now, take a moment to pause. Close your eyes, and let the world around you fade away. For just a few breaths, allow yourself to step out of routine, out of distraction, and into clarity. This is the space where legends are forged, not by accident, but by conscious, deliberate focus. Imagine the goal you have been chasing, the ambition that keeps you awake at night. Picture it in every detail: the environment, the obstacles, the people who doubt you, the weight of the challenge. Feel the texture of success, the sweat, the exhilaration, the adrenaline coursing through your veins. See yourself standing at the summit of your own potential, victorious not just in outcome, but in the unyielding effort it took to get there. Breathe deeply. Let each inhale fill you with energy, determination, and clarity. Let each exhale release fear, hesitation, and doubt. Feel your mind mapping the steps that will carry you to this vision, rehearsing them as vividly as Arnold did in his Venice Beach apartment, years before stepping on stage. Understand this: visualization is not daydreaming. It is preparation, rehearsal, and programming your mind to expect and achieve success. When combined with discipline, mentorship, and relentless effort, your mental rehearsal becomes a force as powerful as any physical training. This is your moment. Embrace it. Let focus transform struggle into a roadmap, and let clarity guide every action toward the realization of your potential. This is where your journey begins to mirror the legendary path of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold's journey through mentorship, revelation, and relentless effort teaches us a timeless truth: struggle alone builds endurance, guidance transforms endurance into mastery, visualization and discipline turn mastery into action, and sharing that wisdom creates a legacy that outlives any individual. He crossed oceans, lifted weights heavier than most could imagine, faced rejection that would have ended weaker spirits. But he also listened, learned, and reflected. This combination of effort and insight is what forged a man who became not just a champion, but a legend. And this is the lesson for you: greatness is never achieved in isolation. It requires teachers, friends, guides, and moments of reflection that reveal hidden potential. It requires visualization, the ability to see the finish line before you arrive. It requires discipline, the will to adhere to the path even when the world doubts you. Arnold's journey reminds us that the bridge between ordinary and extraordinary is built with focus, mentorship, and the courage to act. Now is your chance to step onto that bridge. Take what you have learned here, about struggle, about guidance, about preparation, and apply it to your own life. The next chapter awaits, where insight, discipline, and relentless effort transform potential into unstoppable achievement. Subscribe, like, and share this journey. Learn from those who walked before you, and remember, mentorship and revelation are not just lessons, they are the tools that convert effort into legacy. This is Silent Mastery HD, reminding you that your threshold is where your legend begins.